we are officially live. Taking your drink of water, perfect timing.
Yes, yeah, that's wonderful timing.
Perfect timing. I probably should have said let me go get some coffee, but no, it's okay. We're fine. I have to work tomorrow, so. But yeah, man, we are imminent of information, of news. What happened this week? The Scorpion, get over here kind of teaser dropped this week, and you kind of called it, dude. You're Cyborg, welcome to the show. Sorry, I probably should introduce
Sorry.
Yeah, it's this is your second time being here. It's great, but third time being here.
Yeah, I was about to say third time.
Third time, okay. Yeah, third time. And this week we got that little teaser trailer, or not even trailer, just teaser about Scorpion, and you kind of called it. You're like, we're about to see, like, it's kind of like that scene in Lord of the Rings where all the Ents were like pulling the rocks off the dam, and we're just waiting for this floodgate to open. And I think we're kind of like at that point where just the rocks are beginning to crumble for the dam just to blow up. So yeah, you kind of called that, man. How do you feel as of right now?
It's a weird mixed feeling. It's like a zen like state for me. So with MK11, I mean, I've been doing this since Deadly Alliance, fan since the beginning, but like Deadly Alliance is where I first joined the Mortal Kombat online community, and since 2001, every Mortal Kombat game that's come out, plus the Injustice ones, I've been there for the hype cycles, from that initial announcement, the initial teaser images or whatever, way back to Deadly Alliance's Jax and Scorpion images and stuff like that, like in the Deadly Alliance and Quan Chi and all that. So it's like I've done this so many times that I feel like over the years I've understood the pattern and learned some degree of patience. And it wasn't always like that. If you go back and listen to our Mortal Kombat X, our episodes of the Netherkast and stuff with Mortal Kombat X, there was definitely a time where I reached that frustration point where I even got to be like a giant asshole about being like, give us the transparency, tell us what's going on, when are we getting new content, like why are you being so cheeky about it? And I would get really frustrated and irritated. And
I think even Max dude got to a point where he was like, I have never seen a video game more teased than Mortal Kombat 1. Like, I've never seen this happen before in a game, and it's nothing. I mean, this is nothing new at all. Even back in the 3D era, that they were kind of doing.
It was way worse back then. Like back in the, that's what I was getting at. Like, I've been doing this so long. So back with like the 3D era, it was usually like a 10 or 11 month reveal cycle. Like they would basically announce it a year out, then have stuff that they show at E3, and then you'd have to wait, a full, almost a near year before you'd be able to actually play it. And that was back before, demos or stress tests. That was back before all that stuff was like commonplace, obviously. So, and you would just get you would go weeks without getting anything, and maybe you would see and this is back even before YouTube and all that other stuff is taken out. No Twitter, no teasing or anything. You would just get the occasional interview that showed up on GameSpot or IGN or something, and they would do an interview where maybe they'd answer some questions, or they'd go to without a convention with E3, where you'd get a lot of footage from a build that somebody went and played, like a Mortal Kombat Online, or TRMK, those guys. So those back builds then was the craziest.
And those builds weren't always. I mean, the notorious Halo 2 build. Have you heard about this one?
Yeah,
it was
I'm a big Halo guy.
Right. So I remember Halo 2, the E3 demo. It was it wasn't even in the game. Like the level that you got to play and stuff, and all the different things. It's it wasn't even a part of the game. And the game is something they just kind of threw together. But yeah, no, things were way worse, and you just got little increments at a time too, through magazines and stuff. You here we are,
or the website, you'd get I remember with Deadly Alliance, that'd be the big one, is you'd get a bio that went up on the website for Kano or something. That would be the first time you actually got to see the character was just their bio and their render that was up on the website. You wouldn't get like reveal trailers, like the Noob Saibot MK9 one, or like any, what people really love for like fighting games. That just was non-existent back then. So it was really just the magazines, the interviews on, journalist websites, and then the footage that you would get from, gaming conventions where they would show the build off. So, and then you'd wait all the way until they'd release like the opening trailer, like a month out from the game or whatever, for like Deadly Alliance, Deception, Armageddon, and stuff like that. That would be the biggest hype moments. But yeah, so,
and there wasn't Discord too.
There wasn't any of this Skype, anything. Like, it was just the community. It was just all the forum boards,
exactly.
Boards and stuff.
MKO, it was big. Test Your Might, I remember all those.
And that was it. Even back in MK9, that was pretty much it. Like, you would get, Twitter was around by that point, but I mean, it was still dramatically different than what we get from today, and same with YouTube. So anyways, all to tie it back around, like, to me, this is the easiest thing. Even going back to like MKX, we had a 10-month reveal cycle or something like that, and there was like a 4-month period when we first started the Nethercast was in October of 2014, and that was right when the drought started, because they went from October all the way till like January or February of no information, just nothing. So when we first started our podcast, it was all like recap of what we had seen so far, but then it was just months of silence. So yeah, I mean, anybody that's like that rattled by 3 weeks of waiting, like, try 4 months, and that's after months of the game already have been being announced. So like, that's like mid cycle of just getting 4 months of nothing. That's bad. I mean, so that's when it would really get grating and difficult and challenging. But I mean, it's not even just like outside of the Mortal Kombat bubble. You go to Street Fighter, you go to Tekken, going outside of fighting games. Look at like Spider-Man 2, or look at Elder Scrolls.
Gosh dang it, yeah, dude.
6 or whatever that people have been waiting for, that was announced like 4 or 5 years ago, and they announced nothing, and now they've just recently said it's probably not going to be actually released for another 5 years. So it's like, or GTA, GTA 6, like, how long people have been waiting for that.
They just now said something about GTA, like, did they, like, just a couple weeks ago or this week?
Something like that. It's just, so like, games, what we have it extremely easy, and that's like the brass tacks of this. 4 months from reveal to release is nothing. So if they want to take 3 weeks from reveal to the gameplay reveal, which was shorter than MK11's. MK11's was 5.5 weeks, but it was shorter this time. It was 3 weeks from reveal to gameplay reveal, and then now it'll be 3 weeks this week. Tomorrow it'll be 3 weeks on the dot since the gameplay reveal. But we just had the stress test where a lot of people got to be able to try the game for themselves, so that's pretty huge. You got more impressions, and while it wasn't like new footage or a new build to like mess around with new characters or anything, like, getting a lot more people's opinions in the mix, more feedback out there for them is pretty huge.
And I thought it was actually a good move to reverse it. Usually it's like all this big reveals and then beta test. With this one, it was like stress test. It was like, okay, big reveal, like, or 2 big reveals, right? It was just the game and then gameplay, and then all of a sudden we're gonna do a stress test, and you're like, and when I first saw that, I was like, whoa, you guys are just going straight after it. I thought there was going to be all these different reveals leading up to it, but no, they're just like, okay, we're just going to do the stress test, which I totally get. I mean, and you can tell it was, did you get to play the stress test? Okay, so it definitely wasn't to me, it's more like a tease of what the actual game is going to be like. Not even, you could tell the game was definitely nowhere near complete, and it was a very old build.
I think Dragon said that on Tweety's podcast, was that it was a very early build. So that could mean, I doubt, some people were speculating, it's like 2 years old from like 2021 because of the user agreement. That's what the date was on the user agreement last updated. I don't think I can't imagine it being 2 years old, but I would be surprised if it wasn't like 4 or 5 months old. I'm sure they've done a lot of polishing since then. I think they said it was a build older than the actual gameplay, the gameplay reveal footage. Like that trailer was comprised of a newer build than that stress test / summer game test build, which wouldn't surprise me because I mean they're gonna focus and really prioritize just having a solid build with as little issues as possible. Crashing and all of that type of stuff. They just want something that works somewhat flawlessly, you know, like it's not just crashing and running into a bunch of errors all the time. So that is something that's probably locked in, you know, months ago.
Right. And I believe on Tweety's podcast he did say that the gameplay trailer actually had like a newer build than what we're playing.
Right, right. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. I remember he did say that. So yeah, it felt very, I don't even want to say it felt clunky. It felt smooth, but it definitely didn't feel polished. And when I played it, I was very happy with it. I wanted to keep playing more for sure. But I also did. I kept that in, like, it was in the back of my mind. This is not the final build. This is not this, you know. And the biggest complaint was it was slow, which I can see that. But at the same time, with the cameo fighters and the big elaborate combos, it felt a lot more faster. So it's like when if I touched and opened you up and got my combo going, it felt super fast, but the walk speeds and the neutral was very, very slow. That's kind of how I felt about it. But and I've heard a lot of, you know, other people like Max and Eris, I think both said the same thing, that they just felt like it was clunky and slow. But same thing. It's like, if there's one big takeaway from this, is that if you truly enjoyed the stress test and if you got to play it, then you're gonna like the released version on September 19th even more. And if you didn't like it, then don't worry, because it's not the final build. It's probably going to dramatically change.
It's like, I look at it, so the idea of the stress test and how they put it out so early this time compared to last time, it was only a week and a half before the beta, which was only a month before the game. So this time they put it out, you know, 2 months quicker, essentially, it feels like, or a month and a half or whatever. And that's really important, because one, you're getting feedback sooner from a lot more people than just the people that managed to go to the MK11 reveal event or whatever. You're getting a lot of feedback from a lot of different types of players, both from the FGC side, from the casual player side, and everything in between, you know. So that's key, getting that feedback sooner, because then they're going to have more time to adjust it this time, which is nice. You know, all that like little tweaking on the speed, they managed to tweak Mortal Kombat 11's, you know, speed from the beta to release. So if they were able to do that within a month's time frame of release, then I would have to imagine they'll have even more of a chance to really hone in the correct speed via dashes, or the thing, like, you know, negative, just everything, the frames feeling negative, and the stun block and all that kind of stuff that people have brought up in terms of just the frames. Like, temp is really driven home, which is important, because I mean everybody's kind of coming to that same conclusion, like be it Rooflemonger or Max, whoever, everybody's kind of mentioning the dashes, but it's not just the dashes. It's kind of just and Ares said the same thing. Ares said, like, you know, it's just the moves themselves can feel a bit slow and take too long, or a little clunky on knowing when they're done, so you can do your turn, essentially. So that's important. And I hope that honestly, that's my only like concern right now, and I'm hoping it's just it'll be addressed in their first Kombat Kast post, you know, whatever their first Kombat Kast they throw at us here in the upcoming weeks. Like, I would have to imagine that's something they're going to address, because that was the unanimous feedback. Is like, the visuals are amazing, the stages look wonderful,
oh my gosh,
like the character designs, how you have like people that feel different, like Henshi being their first puppet character, and what is that going to mean for all the other characters they have yet to reveal? Are we going to get more unique character archetypes? And I think
we're going to get deep into that, because Kenshi alone, like really hyped this game up for me. Right. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want you to finish. But no, Kenshi alone, the fact that they have a puppet archetype, it's no longer just rush down in a zoner. You know, it's like, yeah, they have. I mean, they could have stance. Yeah, I mean, they kind of stance characters. Sonya has been a stance character, but it's like, you know, it's like I hope that they have like a God forbid, I hope they have a true grappler.
Right.
You know,
I think was it on Tweety's podcast as well that one like Dragon mentioned, somebody mentioned that they're actually going to have like all the archetypes truly represented in this game.
That would be cool.
I don't want to like hold me to that because I don't know exactly the source or the context of it, but somebody brought it up in the Discord saying that they were going to do something like that. So that would be really exciting.
Yeah.
So if they do that, because I mean, Kenshi is a great example of like this game in general feels very different, and that's where like I watched Aries' video and I disagree. He said it feels very familiar to Mortal Kombat 11. While I can see where he's coming from, I don't think that's completely unfounded at all. By like to say that it feels similar to MK11 or not very innovative, or that I disagree with, because I feel like the cameos just completely changed the ball game. But I also feel like in terms of Mortal Kombat anyways, maybe not other assist based games, but in terms of what we've gotten in Mortal Kombat in the past, this feels very different from how you execute things and how like the air combat, the cameos, things like Kenshi and how he's designed. I feel like we're going to get like it is very different to me in terms of feel. So
yeah, I literally just got done watching that video like about 30 minutes before we started, and there was a lot I agreed with on that and a lot I disagreed, because it was very strange, because at first in the video initially he was like, it kind of sounded like he was, you know, not happy with it, and then later on he had a lot of compliments about it, so it was kind of hard to tell like the his overall feel. I disagree. I agreed with the familiarity, but I didn't agree that it felt like MK11. I thought it felt like MK9, but I'm glad they brought in like aerial combat and the cameo fighters. And I mentioned this in my last or a couple videos ago that I made, where when I reviewed the stress test, is that the game is difficult. I will say that, but it's difficult in a way that it's difficult because it's new. It's not difficult because it's difficult. I mean, all fighting games are difficult. Let's be honest. Right. They are difficult, but it's difficult because it's just new. This is a completely new concept for Mortal Kombat. And, although, yeah, there has been tag and assist fighters, you know, Dragon Ball fighters in the Marvel versus Capcom games, but to me, it was a Mortal Kombat game with an assist, and that did not feel at all like Dragon Ball fighters or Marvel versus Capcom. At all. So I disagreed with the his reasoning behind the, you know, it feels familiar, because I didn't think it looked, or I'm sorry, I didn't think it felt like MK9. It looked like a mix between Injustice and MK11, and from what I have been told, there is a rumor that pretty much they were starting Injustice 3, and another rumor was they're starting on the grid, and pretty much they were like, well, you know, we have this new engine that we have to build on, so all hands are on deck on a Mortal Kombat game. Because it would have been another 6 to 8 more years before another Mortal Kombat.
I think Ed Boon confirmed all that. Like all that. Okay. Most of what you just said, I don't know about the grid and stuff like that, but in terms of
that was just a rumor.
They were originally going to do Injustice, and then the reason why they pivoted, at least what he said, was exactly what you just said, is that creating the transitioning to the new Unreal Engine 4, building that new engine out would have taken a couple years. I think he said it would have taken 2 years of just development time on that alone. And then if you add on another 2 or whatever years to do Injustice, and then another couple of years to do Mortal Kombat after the fact, or more, 2.5, whatever. You were looking at 6 to 8 years until another Mortal Kombat game, and they just didn't want to wait that long. Mortal Kombat's way too big of a money maker for them to put off their biggest franchise for that long.
And I think that's a good choice, to be honest.
It's a good call.
Yeah, I think it really was. So, but I want to dive deeper into a little bit about the character archetypes, because it that's what gets me excited, is the fact that, you know, let's see, like if you're to play MKX and I was to pick up Melina, I could also pick up Takeda, Katana. I could pick up Sonya. You know, it's like with MKX, it almost felt like every character here was the same archetypes. Now, it was a very fast game, and you could do maybe like full auto Jackie, who's more of a zoner. You know, Katana could have been a zoner. You could play her as very zoning-esque, but MK11 had a little bit more diversity when it comes to the archetypes, but that's something I'm looking forward to. So the fact that they threw Kenshi in there, which, by the way, Kenshi looks awesome, and both his Yakuza costume and his traditional Kenshi costume looked freaking sick. I was stoked to see that. But just the fact that they're doing that. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think what characters are you thinking are going to come in here, and we're just going to get presented with, you know, totally new looks on them?
Oh man, that's a tough question, because what we've seen so far, Katana and Melina both look pretty similar to what we've always expected from them. Like from just a design wise. In the actual game, Katana's gameplay reminded me a lot of Mortal Kombat X, but mixed with better animations like Mortal Kombat 11, if that makes sense. And then obviously a lot just new. I spent, I think, the most time in the stress test playing Katana, secondary Sub-Zero. I didn't really touch Kenshi or Liu Kang. I didn't touch Liu Kang at all, but I hardly touched Kenshi. But yeah, like in terms of what we could be getting with like all the new characters and what kind of new designs they might have, man, I would say like I think it's just a complete open field. I mean, Kung Lao looks pretty similar design wise. Liu Kang looks fairly similar. Like they don't look just night and day difference from what we've expected from them so far. Honestly, like from a design standpoint, I think they all look kind of pretty much what you would not expect from them, but they all look within the same confines of. None of them look completely like, other than maybe Raiden so far, who obviously looks a bit different, but like none of them feel like a complete departure from the character. Like even Kenshi, he's still, blinded eventually in his actual playable form that we've seen so far. He still's got his blindfold on, still uses Sento. He's still got the the light blue like spirit effects that he's got going on, and he's still wearing his red and black color schemes. He's got the tattoos, which look sick. But beyond that, I mean, it still reads very much to me like Kenshi. Just like Sub-Zero still Sub-Zero, Scorpion still look like Scorpion, Katana, Melina. Now, as far as like the other characters, like you bring in like some of the.
I will say real fast is that Melina, to me, also Melina, all the way from, especially in MKX and MK11, she felt like I don't know if you call it like dirty boxing to me. Like she felt very like ravenous, and like one of her like her fighting style was very like very brutal. And in this game, from the little probably maybe 5 seconds of gameplay that we've seen, her animations look a lot more elegant,
right?
I guess you could say. Like she still has her size, which is cool, but yeah, she definitely looks way more elegant than she has in the past.
Yeah. I feel like in general, like the characters, their animations are a lot smoother, and there's like that I can't remember his name, Noah something, I think, who's doing the motion capture work for Kenshi, and then he said he's doing 7 other characters. I think they've gotten some clear like real martial artists to do the motion capture work for these characters, because they the animations look so smooth. Like that was what really drew me in, because I wasn't planning on playing Katana here in the stress test. I would have gone all in on Kenshi had he not been marked as basically super challenging, but B just Katana looks so good. Like in her, I'm a sucker for, and this is why I like characters like Lee May as well, or even like, you know, on the Injustice side, like Catwoman and so on and so forth. I like characters that are very acrobatic and agile and graceful in how they move. And Katana has that again. Like she had some of that in MK11, no doubt, and definitely had it in MKX. But I feel like the way they've animated things this time around, like there's no more of that weird like. One thing I noticed right away is like when you're crouching with Katana, she no longer has that little like dainty kick that she throws out as like her down three or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know what you're
like,
talking about.
And it's like that makes zero sense of how you.
Yeah.
There's been people online that have complained about like how they animate things, like where it's just unnatural movement. In MK1 thus far, I haven't really noticed any of that. At least not to like a more egregious degree. There's probably a little nitpicks, things that are people that are super, you know, I don't want to say snobby, but experts in that kind of field would probably pick out and pick apart. But like instead of her doing this time, she does more of like she restances and then does like more of a planted with her back foot push out, you know, like a typical light attack like you'd see in like Street Fighter with their kick. It's like a light attack, and like that's what she has in this game.
Yeah.
And just in general, like you get the cartwheels, you get the backflips. Like when you do the air fan, the air I can't fan lift or whatever, where she like flips it behind her and it does like a like almost like a Nike swoosh and then goes towards the opponent. In this game, when she does that in the air, she also flips while she does it, and like that's super cool. I love stuff like that.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, I've always played, you know, the rush down in your face kind of characters, which is, you know, completely ironic considering I'm saying like I don't want as many rush down characters in this game, you know.
Variety's great.
It is, and Street Fighter is kind of known for that. This is the first Street Fighter 6, the first game where they've had like this many grapplers. Like there's so many grapplers, and but there's still your rush downs and everything. And so, you know, being a Cammy main, I was like, you know, Cammy, and I played a little bit of Jury, but also it's like, you know, Melina and Katana has always been the characters I play, so I'm kind of looking forward to that new. And Lee May is someone that I really, really hope that they bring into it, because me and Temp have kind of speculated that, and I think it's very similar to you, or I think you may have a very similar opinion, which is that Lee May is going to be that kind of elegant gymnastics kind of style. So if very
floaty, very doing like cartwheels, and she's the quintessential Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Wuja character. That's what she was, you know, clearly inspired by. And in a game where air combat is a thing, air combos where you can jump up in the air and keep your combo going, bounce them off the ground and all that kind of stuff, which looks great. In my opinion, in this game, I think the air combat's handled really well. I think she's gonna fit in like a glove. I feel like out of all the games we've gotten between MK9, MKX, MK11, like this feels like the most, from an artistic standpoint, aesthetics, design, stages, the overall themes, the more Asian aesthetics that we've seen thus far.
Yeah, they definitely went back to the whole Asian kung fu thing.
Right, so, and the gameplay just feels like this is the premier game for her. So I feel like if she's going to make any of them, this seems like the ideal one for her. Her and
Natara. I think
Natara's another great one.
Yeah, and especially with aerial combat. Me and Shinobi, another local friend of mine, and we were talking about it, is like we were kind of going over, you know, characters we'd like to see in the game, like how would you think they would play and stuff. Like Serena, we talked about Serena a lot, because Serena is the one character I'm like, I want Serena in this game. If she's not in the game, that's fine. I'll play Natara, Lee May, assuming they're in the game. You know, it's like it's like, gosh dang it, they didn't put Serena, but that's okay because Natara's in the game. But yeah, like Natara, I was like, I thought would be a cool like stance character, but she have an aerial stance, similar to like maybe like Cammy's Hooligan, where I don't know. Are you familiar with? If you're familiar with Cammy's Hooligan, it's basically she floats in the air, does like some flips and stuff, and you can either go back down, you can dive kick, you can grab.
So is it kind of like Sindel or Ermac, how they've been handled in the past, where you float around the screen and you choose different buttons do different things. And
yeah, like I figured Natara would do something like she could combo and then jump and spread her wings and kind of float, and during that time you can decide what you wanted to go from there. But with Cammy, her or at least in Street Fighter 6, her hooligan, you can combo with her hooligan. So it doesn't just stop,
right?
So at least in this one, that hasn't been the same in the past. But I feel like I thought it'd be kind of cool, because this game is very combo heavy, that Nitara would do something like do a combo and then do some kind of maybe like quarter circle forward 2, right, and she jumps and spreads her wings, and then you can decide dive kick, grab or whatever. But yeah, those are just kind of the things we talked about them doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't thought too hard about like characters that we haven't seen and what they would be doing, or what kind of like gameplay they would have. I'm a little like hesitant to do that kind of thing, just because I don't want to come up with all these great ideas and really have my mind set on like, oh, this character would be awesome and perfect to have like this style, and this is the approach that they should take with them. Because then if they do their version differently from my, like, what I thought I built up in my mind, and I'm like, oh, that would be so awesome. And then I feel like I'm already going to be comparing that to my own imagination. And like, it's kind of like when you read a book and then you go watch a movie and the character is not portrayed how you envision them in your mind. And that disappoints you. Like, I kind of like to have a fresh slate, so that way it's like, let them paint the picture for me. I have ideas. I mean, I wouldn't even say ideas. I have preferences. Like, I hope they don't just like completely change Lee May into something completely different than, that whole Crouching Tiger, type of approach. And I think your idea of like with Natara going up into the air and doing a lot more, because when we were even told in one of the interviews, I believe, that certain characters would be more like proficient in the air than others. They'd have more combo strings in the air than others. So absolutely, really capitalize on that. I love that idea that certain characters are better for air combat than others.
Yeah,
by all means, go for it.
And I kind of take a healthy approach to it, because Kenshi, just the fact that Kenshi exists in the way that he does kind of opens that door for my imagination. However, the way I envisioned Kitana in Mortal Kombat 1 is completely different than what I envisioned her, or what I envision is completely different than how she came out. And the way she came out, though, I was still happy about.
Yeah.
So, and I totally get what you're saying too, because a lot of people are probably going to have this idea in their head of like what they want Smoke to look like, or like what's going to happen if Cyrax is in the game, but he's not a cyborg, and everybody's disappointed that he's not the cyborg Cyrax that we wanted. He's human Cyrax. And in fact, in this new universe, there's no cyborgs. I mean, God forbid there's no cyborgs, but let's just, for the sake of this argument, there's no cyborgs. Is that gonna make or break you from playing the game? And
me personally, absolutely not. I don't hitch my wagon to any one specific character. I am a fan of Mortal Kombat first and foremost, more than I am a fan of any specific character. Like, as much as I like Cyrax, Kenshi is my second favorite character. Frost, I think, is my third, and then you have like Sub-Zero. Astra's up there for me, and then I love most of the ninjas in general, like Reptile. They're all among my favorites as well. There's so many characters to play. Katana's made it up the list just because I've enjoyed using her. She was my main in MKX. So like, I love Mortal Kombat as a whole, and I like most of the Mortal Kombat characters. They may not all be my favorites, but I like enough of them that I will never have a problem like. That's what always is a disconnect to me when I see people on like Twitter. Like, you have those types of the more toxic fan base that are more like, if this character's not in the game, then I'm not going to buy the game. It's like, to me, that is unfathomable. I could never imagine not getting Mortal Kombat because my favorite character didn't make the game. Because if that was the case, I just wouldn't have bought a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like my top 3, if they didn't make the game, once again, that's just that it's not often that they do. Like,
And it's not like NetherRealm Studio is going to lose sleep because they lost a.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a silly threat to begin with.
It's kind of and I don't want to say just that, because I mean I've worked in customer service most of my adult life, and you want to try to appease as many as you can, but you also know that you're never going to appease everybody.
Sure.
But you never ever want to come to the approach of, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. This is the way it is. Deal with it. That approach can and will never work.
That I don't know if you follow the guys that make like Friday the 13th the game and Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game. Wes, I forget what his last name is. He's basically gotten to that point where he's so fed up with dealing with complainers and people that like rake them over the coals for like the dumbest shit. So he's to the point where like he'll just respond to people that are like, the game, the stress test or whatever was boring and you got to like switch up the gameplay. He's basically just like, look, we're making this game for a very specific audience. If it's not for you, then there's plenty of other games out there for you. He's that blunt on Twitter at this point. So I see what you're saying. That's not the best strategy, especially like they're a smaller company and a smaller game. But also there does have to come some degree of like realisticness. Like you said, you're never going to please all people. So you can't bend everybody's demand and desires. It just doesn't work like that. It is absolutely impossible to please every Mortal Kombat fan out there. It's not only that, you could just take like the Netherkast Discord, we'll just say on average 100 active members that we have on at any given time. You can take all of us and sit us in a room, and I guarantee you we are not all going to agree on every aspect of the game.
Right.
So you could take half that, and we are not going to all agree. You could take just the FGC dudes, like in the gameplay chat. You all are not going to agree on every little aspect of the game. That's just that's just an unrealistic. It's so impossible. They have the most unenviable task of trying to please the wider audience, and it's not just like the hardcores, but it's the casuals and everybody else that needs to be taken into account. Plus, the publishers, Warner Brothers, they have so many masters to please, essentially, between different types of audience and people that pay them their paychecks, that it is just like, and we've talked about that previously, but that's just like an impossible task to please everybody. So absolutely not gonna happen. Every Mortal Kombat game has its pros and cons, and that's why it's like right now going into Mortal Kombat 1, I'm insanely excited by the fact that my biggest complaint, my only real complaint, is like that speed of the game. Something that I feel like is pretty easily adjustable, as we've seen in the past. But I mean, in terms of like the aesthetics, the overall gameplay, like even if it was as is and they didn't adjust anything, I would still say it's a fairly fun game. It's not perfect. It's not ideal. It could be better. If they tweak it, it could go from like a good game to a great or amazing game. So that's what I feel like what we're looking at potential wise. I said predictions back in like January, February, that this was going to be I had a feeling like this was going to be one of the best Mortal Kombats. It's going to be the next Mortal Kombat 9. It's going to be the next UMK3 or the next Deception in a lot of ways. And a lot of people are going to put this in like their top 3 Mortal Kombats of all times. And I still feel that way. Now, after having played it, I still feel like that potential is on the table. I feel like like story is its own little thing, whatever. Like I don't put too much eggs in those baskets, but in terms of like gameplay, roster, stages, aesthetic, style, and just fun factor, I feel like this could be the next like major pillar of the franchise. So
and the stress test is just one thing. Like if you really want to get excited about Mortal Kombat 1, go watch the gameplay trailer like 10 times over and over and over again, and just look at just find all the things that are in there. Because that's one thing I did when I was editing my last video was I was pulling apart things from the gameplay trailer, and it's like you have the Shaolin Monks stage, you have the Dead Forest stage, or the Evil Forest. It's not, I don't even want to call it like the Dead Forest.
It's a living forest, but it's more like the Laughing Forest, I think people call it, from Malibu Comics, because it's like all pleasant. And I'm sure that'll have a toggle, like the day and night toggle. That'll have a toggle where it's going to be the more, living forest as we remember, where it's dark and spooky. Because I guess I think they confirmed in one of the interviews that every stage will have a toggle between two different modes. It's just not all of them are going to be day and night. Summer will be just different changes, so that'll be cool.
Oh, okay. Like that could be one where it's like it's more horror living forest, and this one,
right?
And then you have like Melina's courtyard stage. I mean, there are so many stages in there. It was there's
a lot of good stuff in that. And
it was
what's interesting to me is like Jandy on Twitter, who's a dev at NetherRealm Studios. I forget what his exact title is. He's like senior designer of something or other, but he put out like he likes to do a lot of his like little teases and stuff, like responses with songs. Like he'll put up a song or whatever, and he put up after that, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And I truly believe we have not even scratched the surface on the best stuff that is going to be in this game. I feel like in terms of like characters on the roster, cameos, stages, which all the stages I love. Like these are still like, I can tell you're a big fan too, just from when you lit up about the stages when I was talking about it before. But these are easily my favorite stages, possibly ever. We'll see when it all shakes out. I obviously don't want to have recency bias because I still love a lot of the classic stages. But I mean, just in terms of detail, like Johnny Cage's mansion stage is so beautiful and filled with so many details on the foreground and the background, the colors. I talked about this recently on Netherkast or something or other, but basically how the stages in MK11 were a step in the right direction in terms of like they just looked, the colors obviously coming from MKX, which was all desaturated and whatnot. The colors were there. It's just every stage was like one or two colors, and like the Blood Sea was all red, or the Black Dragon Fight Club was pretty much all purple. The desert base was all orange, basically. Like every stage had only one or two colors that just dominated the stage, whereas these stages thus far are a combination of multiple colors. Like you have in the Wuxi Academy, you have the mountains in the background that are blues and the whites and the soft blues in the sky and the clouds. But then you also have the pink and the cherry blossoms, the orange on the monks' uniforms, the green in the grass, the stone, the pale stone colors for the statues. Then you have like the browns in the huts, and then the colors of the characters themselves and all the abilities going on. Like, and that's the same with Johnny Cage's mansion stage. You have the sky, the traffic going on in the background, the inflatables in his pool, the pool itself, and then like the palm trees, and then whatever time of day you put it at. It's overflowing with a bunch of different colors that almost gives like more of like a painterly, really stylistic vibe, very vibrant. I think these stages are absolutely amazing. I hope we get another couple twists on classic stages like a Portal and stuff like that. I want to see those classic stages done in such a beautiful setting like we have in this game. And then they've won me over with the Johnny Cage Mansion stage, so like give us some new ones too, and I'm excited. They're so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of the stages I was really happy with. Even though the tea house and Johnny Cage's mansion are the only two you really got to play. And in the gameplay trailer, like I said, they had the Shaolin Monastery, you had a whole bunch of others. And one thing I think they listened to a lot was one thing I think the devs listened to the fans about a lot was the fact that they have like color again. And MKX was just dark and grim. MK11 was, like you said, I think I would agree with that. It was a step in the right direction, yet it still felt a little bit dark. But at the time, and I think the NRS era, maybe besides Mortal Kombat 9, has just been a very dark and grim kind of feel to it. And I would argue the 3D era as well was just very dark, dark and grim. But the thing that stood out to me the most was overall, the color and feel of the game, and the theme of the game. Now, I've played a lot of different MMORPGs. I've played actually a lot of Korean MMORPGs like Terra, Aeon, Blade and Soul, a couple others. And one thing they always get really good is the colors, and it's a very cheerful, cheery theme to it. And when I first saw the main menu and listened to the music of it, it wasn't this, you know, eerie feeling, or it felt like life. You know, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Brand new life.
Yeah, like this is life, you know, and that's how I feel. It made me feel good, you know? Yeah.
I think that's intentional. I think everything we've seen so far, and Max said this in his initial like reaction to everything. He's like, where are the stages with the skulls and everything's decrepit and like just blood all over the walls and stuff. And I think the reason why we haven't seen any of that yet, and including the main menu and just the way everything's been presented, is I think we're only getting the initial, like, this is Liu Kang's new vision. This is Liu Kang's new, we're getting that initial like day one feel of like, everything's happy and this is that perfect, you know, beautiful sunshine and rainbows approach. But then the other shoe's gonna drop eventually. Maybe in a story trailer or something, we're gonna see like Onaga come to town and wreck shit, just kind of like what we saw with Shang Tsung in the initial trailer, teasing that. But like nothing is as it seems. I feel like all this cheeriness is going to, like I said, that other shoe's gonna drop, and then we're going to see that dark and bloody and just more like there will be that in the game for sure,
right?
Like chaos or whatever. Like we're gonna get things that are just complete madness on top of all the cheeriness. So I think there's gonna be a contrast there, which is good because I think that's what Mortal Kombat's always had since the beginning. Anyways, like in a lot of ways, you talk about like colors and just the feel of the game. This game reminds me most of like Mortal Kombat 2, like the vibrancy in the colors contrasting with like the darks in the like the contrast in this game in general is really great. Maybe not like overall feel. Obviously, so far it's been like sunshine and rainbows, like we were talking about. But like, I was playing the game on like a 4K monitor, and I gotta say, like the colors just pop, and it has like extreme like the dark blacks, but then you have the uniforms of the characters and the lightness of the stages just really popping out, and it just felt super vibrant. And it reminded me a lot of MK2 because MK2 kind of had that perfect mix of those things. So I don't know. I really appreciate that. I don't know. I have nothing but like amazing things and praise to put on like the actual aesthetics and design of the game's visuals and whatnot.
Yeah, the contrast that I saw was actually the tea house, and the background music really did it for me too, because the background music felt very like it felt like a reminisce of the old days to me. If you did you get a chance to listen to any of the OST?
I did for the I did for the main menu theme, as well as Johnny Cage's mansion, after we learned that Casey, whatever his last name, Casey Edwards, I think,
Casey Edwards
did some of the songs for some of the arenas, as we found out, or the stages. So including the Cage's mansion, which is one that while I was playing, I was like, hey, this is kind of good. Like I thought it was pretty solid. So more of that. Like I'm excited by that.
Yeah. But yeah, the music did it for me because it was a little bit more, I guess, like it didn't sound like, I wouldn't say it sounded like dark, but it felt very like a kung fu movie to me. Yeah. So, and the fact that it's in the tea house just made it that much more. But overall, I felt the theme was very, lifelike, a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of vibrant lights and everything. And so for me personally, and me and Temp have talked about this a lot, like I pretty much only like to play protagonist characters. I don't like to play antagonist characters because, I know a lot of people like to play like Quan Chi and Shang Tsung and stuff like that, and I get that and everything. But I was always one to play like like Kitana, Nightwolf, and characters like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what more is to become of this, and I am ready for that other shoe to the other shoe just dropped.
Yeah.
That's one of
I think that's a lot of why we saw the characters we saw too. Like a lot of people were speculating like why they lead with Kenshi or not like a different 3D era, like a bigger surprise or whatever. Beyond the fact that he's just the most recognizable one. Put that aside. I think we saw like the cutscenes we saw and the characters we've seen so far and the stages that we've seen, because it all goes back to we're seeing that initial setup of the game where everything is nice and pretty and sunshine and rainbows by showing other characters that may be more on the villain side or bigger shockers like, oh, they made it onto the roster. Like those characters probably haven't come yet because they probably fit into later in the story where things are more already into a sense of anarchy and chaos and everything's going crazy and the darkness comes around basically. So I feel like they purposely have I feel like everything is done for a reason, and these characters were chosen for a reason, and the stages and so on. It's really laying that theme, like you're talking about, that new, fresh painting of pretty and life and happiness and peace.
I think the reason they chose Kenshi was, well, let me go back. I think they chose for the stress test Liu Kang, Kenshi, Katana, and Sub-Zero specifically because they're very recognizable characters. Because all three of them, Liu Kang and Sub-Zero were probably the two easiest to play, but they still played like slightly different, but not too far away from different. Right. I will say I think the reason they specifically chose Kitana is because they wanted to have a female character in there that was with the new design and show off Kitana's new design. But Kenshi specifically, I think they chose him specifically is because to show, hey, look, we got a 3D era character in here that everybody knows and loves and everybody requests, but also because we want to show off a new archetypes character that we've never used before. So I'm like, look what's, hey, look what we're doing here. And that was, again, Kenshi alone is the reason I got super stoked, and I didn't even play him in the beta. Just the fact that you're throwing in Kenshi
potential,
right? Exactly. So that's why I was kind of like thinking, oh, well, if Nitara's in the game, what is she going to be like? If Li Mei's in the game,
was like to bring this back full circle of like why I think it was so genius for them to put out the stress test as early as it did or as they did is not only to get feedback sooner to apply it, have more time to apply it, but also now personally being able to have played the game for a few hours over the weekend. I am far more looking forward to like seeing what characters they include now and how they are designed, what their gameplay looks like, because now I have a reference point. I've felt the game, at least in the state that they chose to give us, the build that they chose to give us. I felt like an idea of how these cameos work and the potential there. I felt the idea of just the overall like what's going on here. And once you've felt something, now for this point forward, when you see it, you're going to have a more informed opinion because you can kind of like relate things back to when you were playing. Like so now when I see a Havoc or something, like if he's in the game, I can be like, oh, okay, well he's doing this, and it's like, okay, I can imagine myself how that feels. Like I think that's so important. Or when you see a stage, you're like, okay, like I don't know. I just feel like you get a much bigger sense, or even the cameos. I think cameos are a prime example of like once you've used them, you have such a better understanding of what's possible and how they flow into the combat, how they feel, what opportunities are there. And now that you've done that, you're going to be looking for aspects that certain cameos offer. Do they allow for pressure games? Do they allow for combo extension? Are they going to allow for other things that we haven't even seen yet, which I would assume so. So like that is also important. So I think that's pretty huge.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree on that. Yeah, it just sets up for more. So
yeah, so I know Down 4 was saying the same thing. Like now that he's played the game, he's far more excited by seeing like how other characters and cameos and stuff are implemented because now he has a reference point to like come back to.
And how did you feel about the cameos? Like Did you feel it was kind of, see, I did not feel it was very intuitive. Because one, it's a Mortal Kombat game. This is a brand new mechanic of a Mortal Kombat game. And I know for a fact that when the game comes out, I'm actually going to switch the cameo to the left trigger, because the entire time I was actually pressing
I did that a lot too.
My intuition was to use left trigger.
Yeah.
For cameo.
I play on arcade stick, but I couldn't for the stress test because my arcade stick's like a PS3/PC/Xbox 360, and all of the Mortal Kombat games that have been on like PS4 since then, they've had like legacy, so that it still worked, or it worked on PC as well.
Right.
It didn't work for this, so hopefully that's something that is in the final build.
Do you have a PS5?
I have a PS5, so I'll have to buy a PS5 stick if it comes to that. But that aside, so I had to use the controller, which was very weird to me because I haven't used a controller for a fighting game in many years. But I did the exact same thing. Like, my mind thought immediately, like, right bumper or trigger or whatever should be grab. That should be throw or whatever, and left should have been for the extra thing, be it to do like the interactable with the stages, like in the previous games, or what I would think, so I did that plenty of times. I was doing so many combos with Katana, like, where's Sonya? Do I not have the meter for Sonya? And then I'd look up and I'm like, no, I have the meter. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong one. So I did that a lot too.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to switch things up and everything. I'm very tempted to try to budget for a PS5 at this point, too, just because I want to play the beta. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to play on PC. I'm going to be playing on PC. So I think you are too, right?
Yeah. I already bought the copy. I only literally got the PS5 for that very reason. Like, I got it a week before the stress test, just be like, okay, pull the trigger here. I'll have it for the beta. It's also because, like, I'm worried about potential crossplay. Are they going to have crossplay at launch or not? If they don't, I want to have it so I can play with the PS5 folk as well as the PC people. Like, I had to do that with X and 11 and all the other ones that didn't have. I usually bought like an Xbox copy and a PlayStation copy back then. Yeah. So I'm kind of used to buying two copies at this point to be able to play with everybody. But so that's why I just bit the bullet, and then I figure eventually, if crossplay is there, and I know that is going to be the case, then I'll just sell my PS5 to like a friend or somebody that I know wants one anyways. So cross that bridge if we get there. But going back to like cameos and what did I think about him? I liked it. I'm still very much in love with the concept of cameos. I love seeing another character represented on the screen. I think Kano and Sonya and Jax look the best that they've looked in years. I love their classic looks, and I love how faithful they are to the classic looks. I also love the art style of them. Like Sonya, how colorful she is in her face. This isn't even a bad thing to me, but it reminds me of like very Disney or Fortnite. Like, it just feels very smooth and polished in a way that we haven't gotten for Mortal Kombat. Like, they kind of went from like Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X with the models looking very like, ugh. Yeah. And then obviously Injustice 2 was a huge jump. Face technology and all that, everything looked a lot better. And then MK11, the same thing. But I like the pivot to MK1's art style because it feels more like an actual art aesthetic instead of trying to be realistic. Instead of like scanning in their faces and like that's their face just plastered on somebody, it feels like it has a little bit more touch up and artistic value to it. And that's the vibe I get from like Sonya, especially. Like, that character model for Sonya looks the best I think she's ever looked, in my opinion.
Yeah,
she looks
I agree.
Phenomenal.
Jax looks super cool too. I was stoked to see Jax in there.
And that's like, so the idea of cameos and the execution of them, I think is still really cool. I love them. I enjoyed using them to extend combos, like in the case of Sonya, and apply pressure in the case of Kano. I love the concept of them. I'm so excited to see what more opportunities they do. Are they going to have cameos that buff you, or give you health back, or provide a shield for you to get you?
That was one thing I said was defensive options for cameos. Like yeah,
I would. There was a rumor, or like it was said in an interview or something. I can't remember who said it, but the idea of like Kung Lao's cameo can grab onto you and teleport you to your opponent or something crazy like that.
Oh, that'd be
Like
cool.
that's just insane. Like I love the idea of just all these unique things that they can do. So I am absolutely still just blown away. Super sold on them. Plus, I love the extra character representation. Like, give me Kano, Sonya, and Jax as just cameos, at least for now. Like, if you want to add them late game DLC as like the last DLC pack, fine, whatever. But like for now, this is perfect because you're having the character representation, but at the same time, you're leaving those roster slots open for other characters to finally make it onto the roster where otherwise they wouldn't if those characters were taking up spots. But also, I love the classic look of them, like Striker and all that, having those characters in there, or even Kung Lao with his spin. It looks exactly like it did in the old games. So I love the throwback aspect of it. I love Sonya being her classic Sonya self with the leg grab, the square wave, and no longer using the drones or anything like that. So it's like very much a faithful classic rendition of the characters. So it has me excited because let's say, just hypothetically, like Cyrax, for example, is a cameo and not playable. If that's the case, as much as I want to see him playable, and I have for so many years, if he's a cameo, that means he's likely to get his like very classic Mortal Kombat 3 look with like the classic helmet, the flap, whatever you call that. I can't think of it right now, or like the ninja flap and like all the things that he's been missing for so long. Like I think he would look fantastic as a classic cameo. And that means I can always use him with one of my other like favorite characters that might make the roster, you know, like something like that. So then I'm happy for that. So I'm still super in love with the cameos.
I like the idea. The concept is it's really well executed. I was actually surprised how well it was done, because when I heard cameos, I was thinking like Mortal Kombat 11 towers, you know, assists. And
same.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, Bo Raicho farts in your face, and then you know, or something like that. But no, it's they come out, they do their thing. You can hold Kano there, you know, for his ball and stuff like that. You know, it's like there's all sorts of things like that. And I think there's going to be 16 of them.
So, at least it seems like. So Ed Boon said on the he said 15 to 20 starting out. Right now on the select screen it shows 16 slots, but he said 15 to 20 at launch. So I don't know if they've fully committed to like if we're looking at an older build, it's possible they've added more slots since then, for all we know.
So 16, that's a lot of that's a lot of moves. You know,
that's a lot of
options.
Variations, you could say. Like it's basically you take the starting roster, assumedly 24 unless that's been expanded as well. You take 24 times. I think
24 is pretty solid, by the way. I think that's pretty solid.
Good. When you add in the cameos to it, 24 times 16 is 384 possibilities, like unique combinations within that. So 384 unique combinations. It sounds like a lot, and that's pretty awesome.
I know. If anybody says, "Oh, the game doesn't have options," I'm like, "Well, there's 384 of them." So,
I love this way more than as like a concept than variations. Personally, like I like having the base moveset for your character. You know exactly what they can do. You know exactly what your opponent's character can do. You don't have to memorize all these different variable. Like, oh, this is this Sub-Zero variant. He loses these, but he gains. Like that is way more than I want to try and like even remotely understand or keep track of for the entire roster of characters. 3 different variations per character. Like to me, that gets insane. I love not only that, but I also like to know like I like them having one set of moves and not splitting up like
I agree.
Oh, in this variation I love like it takes me back to Mortal Kombat X with Katana. Like I liked her Royal Storm because it had her fan lift and it did like more of what I wanted to do, and her fluff in the air and like fun little things like that I really enjoyed. But then Assassin Katana had the run up and stabby stab and like the cool shit like that, or the jump, the leap on to them or whatever. Like, so like when you want the things that are in 2 different variations, but you want them all in your one gameplay style, that sucks. And I feel like a lot of people have dealt with that, obviously, through 11 and X. I'm happy to get back to just a standard move sets, and then yes, you can add your variable. It's still like variations. You can still use them to counter pick or to fill a weakness in your game, or double down on a strength and make you even better. That's what they're essentially variations. It's just now they're their own unique characters, which adds character representation onto the screen and onto the roster, which is exciting. And you know what you're getting at all times. Like you'll know what this character does, but you also know what this cameo offers. So to me, it's a lot easier to track what all the variables are than it is to know all three variations for the entire roster. To me.
And I'm excited. I'm kind of stoked to see it done competitively, because I would like to see, you know, like Samij use Katana, or you know, he played Katana and Cassidy. Let's, you know, think of someone else, but yeah, Samij, Tweety, you know, Sonic, all of them, and they're like, you know, I'm doing really well with this character, but this cameo is not helping me out, so I'm gonna switch. You know, I'm gonna stay playing Kenshi, but I'm gonna switch from Jax over to pick a character, and this, you know, their abilities are gonna help me out more in you know, with this. So yeah, the mixing and matching I think is going to be really cool, and yeah, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the different kind of, you know, ways. And one thing I really want to see too is Evo 2022, the top 8 had, I think, literally 8 different characters in Street Fighter 6. So Street Fighter 5, I apologize. Street Fighter 5 Evo literally had every single person was playing a different character.
Right.
Something I really want to see competitively is in a top 8 to see 8 different combinations. Of
character and cameo. Combinations.
I don't want. I mean, this totally goes down to the devs at NRS, you know, but and the balancing and everything like that. But I would hate it if it was just, you know,
everybody Sub-Zero with Kano or something.
Exactly. That is the most boring thing in the world, and I cannot stand watching that competitively. And I love watching majors. I'm actually a huge fan of watching the majors. So,
are you going to Evo this year at all?
No, I can't do that. I would love to.
Man.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
I don't know that I'll be there for the final day, like the actual arena, because I would imagine that's probably gonna be like Street Fighter and stuff like that. I was actually with friends going on travel from up here in Washington. This for like a friend's bachelor thing. We decided on doing this. We're gonna go travel the coast from here in Washington down to LA. Take that drive down the coast. That was gonna be like a week before Evo is when we were leaving. And then we were gonna spend that week in LA, and then we were gonna drive back, and be back by like the second or third, so like 2 days before Evo. And I was like, you know what? Like Evo's in Las Vegas, only 4.5 hour drive from LA or whatever where we're gonna be. So I'm like, why don't we just drive up there, extend our vacation a few days, and go to Evo for those like 2 convention days? Be able to play MK1 there. You know, meet a bunch of people, hang out, do all the free like arcade that they have with all the fighting games, you know, on free to play mode and all that. Because my friend whose bachelor party it is, he's into Mortal Kombat as well. And then our other friend that's going to be with us, he's just in general likes fighting games, so he wants to go check it out for like Guilty Gear
that'll be fun.
And all that stuff. So check out that. Plus, I've never been to Vegas, so that'll be a fun little add-on just to explore the city a bit while we're there. So.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to a major. You know, it's funny, as I train jiu-jitsu, and one of the guys that I train with, we so happen to be talking about, like, one of the guys asked, he goes, or my coach, he was like, you know, oh, your YouTube channel, and one of the guys asked what it was about, and I was like, oh, I mainly do like fighting games. And he's like, really, what kind? And it was cool. He was like, he used to be a competitive Guilty Gear player, and I'm like, have you been? He asked me if I've been to any majors. I was like, I have never actually been to a major. There isn't a big major in Northern California, I don't believe.
Right.
I think there's like, I think Bay Area Showdown or something like that, but I don't believe there's like one really big one like CEO or Evo or Combo Breaker. But he was like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, I went to Combo Breaker, I went to CEO, you know, all these different ones. I was like, oh, that's sick. And he goes, dude, there's nothing like it. Like it's you know, it's I wish there was more of them. That's it, what he's saying, you know. So I do too. And if the FGC was a lot bigger, that'd be really cool to have like a, you know, a Washington one, a NorCal one,
right,
you know, one in Seattle, like, you know, to have one in each major city would be kind of cool. One in Seattle, one in,
I think there's something up here, but I have no idea which one it is. I don't know if it's a major or a minor or whatever.
You have to look into it more. So Kombat Kast is coming up, and we don't know when it's going to start. We thought it was going to start this Friday. Like, we kind of speculated that they were going to do something this Friday.
It still could happen. I mean, they might just do it like announce it the day before. I don't think that's completely impossible, but who knows?
Yeah. But one thing, or a couple things I want them to talk about is of course roster. I want roster to be the main thing they talk about there, but I do have concerns that I hope they bring up, and one of them you've already brought up, which is crossplay. Netcode is a big deal as well. I think netcode is probably one of the most important aspects of any modern fighting game because everything is online nowadays. But my biggest thing is crossplay because I play on PC. You know, you played on PC, and if you know, it's gonna be hard if I can't play with, you know, a lot of my friends.
A large chunk of people,
yeah, because a bunch of people are on PS5. I don't know if anybody's on Xbox, but most people are on PS5 or PC.
It seems like a lot in the Discord server are going to be PS5 or PC.
Yeah, exactly. So, I really hope they bring this up, and
it'd be crazy if not. Like, I mean, not if they don't bring it up, but it'd be crazy to me with all the other games that do these days have crossplay between PC and the consoles, and not just like fighting games, but in general, just most like big AAA titles have, and I consider Mortal Kombat essentially a AAA title. In the fighting game realm, it absolutely AAA title is.
For sure.
I mean, so to not have that would be hugely disappointing. So I hope they address it early on as well, because obviously we're all aware of that it was up on the FAQ, but then it was like within a minute taken down from when the game was first announced. So that has to account for something.
What did they say again?
It just said it wouldn't. They up on the FAQ originally was something like would not be on launch. It would not be, but it would be added down the road. But I don't remember the exact wording. But gosh, let's see if I can find if I
do remember it being something like that. But that's you're right. That's crazy to me. That's just not standard, you know? Because it's not like it's a Xbox exclusive or a PS5 exclusive.
Right. But if they took it down, they took it down within like a minute, that has to be for a reason. And I don't think it was just to avoid bad publicity, because I mean, not everything about this game is going to be things we enjoy. I mean, the other, like, eventually they're going to reveal like some, you know, we got to know what, you know, dragon crystals are and stuff like that. Stuff's going to still exist to some extent. Hopefully it's not nearly as egregious as it was in Mortal Kombat 11. Hopefully it's been dialed back. The grind and all of that's been dialed back. So there's still going to be those things. They usually just wait till like a month before release or a few weeks, so that way they're, you know, they want to build up the hype first before kind of giving a sour note to at least win you over from the start, then have the sour note, and then hopefully have enough time to win you back over on the people that it turns off.
Yeah.
But for the crossplay, I hope they're not saving that for that reason. But for them to have it initially up on the FAQ had to have served a real purpose, because that was originally the plan. But then I feel like they would have removed it, and this is just pure speculation, and I hope it's correct, but like, I hope they removed it because it was no longer accurate. I hope they're like, oh, that was outdated text.
Shoot, we forgot to change this part.
Exactly. Otherwise, I feel like, why even, if they didn't want that out there to begin with, why would they have put that up on the website? Like, if they weren't comfortable having that out there from the start, why would that have been up there to begin with? Because it's not like everything's just up there and then it's subtractive. No, somebody had to have typed that out and added that to the website and gotten approval, and people looked at it and checked it. a million times over before it went live. Like, so I'm hoping, I'm really hoping, because crossplay is essential.
It's I mean, it's one thing is understandable is that you can reach a much bigger audience if you go to console. However, they are only doing next generation, and not everybody has a PS5 yet. And if you go online, if you go, PS5s are $600, dude. It's like they're super expensive, you know, to buy them brand new. And
tell me about it.
I was gonna say, you just bought one. And on top of that, dude, I play a lot of Street Fighter 6. So if you go on Street Fighter 6, everyone is on PC. I rarely see people on PlayStation. A lot of people are on PlayStation, I imagine, but everyone I play on PC. And that I think a year ago, it was actually like an actual debated thing. Like, why is fighting games not being played on PC competitively? You know, and it would be way more expensive, of course, you know, because you can go buy a used PlayStation 4 right now for $150 if you go on like Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But I mean,
you know, high-end PC to play these games, obviously you're looking closer to $1,000+.
Yeah, I mean, my PC, like with everything that's in it, is about $2,500, but I've upgraded it more and more and more over the years and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, like, of course, you know, like I said, you can reach a wider audience with the consoles. And this kind of goes to the other end of the argument of why crossplay amongst PC and the consoles is just a must-have. Is that you know, in the profession that I work in, I go into a lot of clients' houses, you know, and when I go inside their houses, you know, whether or not they're a gamer or their kid's a gamer or anything like that, I rarely see PS5s, but almost everyone has a PC.
Right.
Like gaming PCs right now are kind of the standard gaming rig now. It's not even so much of, you know, it used to be the Xbox or the PlayStation, and if you really had a lot of money, you can do PC. Nowadays, it's just everybody does PC. So, yeah, the fact if they don't implement crossplay amongst PC players, that's got to be the most disappointing. That would be really disappointing to me.
Same with if the PC version has like horrible problems or something.
Yeah, like in the
if it's a bad port
MKX
or whatever
thing.
It's done by QLock or something, I think, or whoever did MK11. If it's a bad port, we brought that up on one of the Netherkast episodes. How important PC the PC version is, because if prior to me buying a PS5, if the PC version was just complete crap and that was my only option, it's like, well, what the hell do I do? Like, how do I play your game? How do I follow up here? But then, crossplay is another thing. I did find that quote exactly, by the way. I found the picture of it.
Okay.
Will Mortal Kombat 1 have crossplay and cross progression? We plan to add
cross progression.
Cross progression. So, like, if I unlock a bunch of stuff on PS5 and then switch to the PC, that all my save data will also be applied.
Got it. Okay.
So it basically saves it to your WB ID instead of your individual.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So a lot of games do that too.
Destiny does that.
But the answer that was originally there when they had that up was, we plan to add crossplay or cross progression support post launch, which is weird that they said or. We plan to add crossplay or cross progression support post launch. You would think it'd be and, not or. But anyways, so that's just weird. But it
wasn't and or slash. It was just and.
It's just or. It was literally just or.
So you
we plan to add crossplay or cross.
We'll make you a deal. You get one.
Exactly. So weird.
Yeah, but I would imagine, that crossplay, netcode and crossplay are probably the two biggest things for me. I'm already sold on Cameo fighters and the new game mechanics. I'm already sold on that. I think I was sold on the game just by how beautiful it looks. And the other thing I really hope they talk about in Kombat Kast is netcode and crossplay, which is a big deal to me. Right. Game modes is a big one too.
Yeah, we definitely got to know what else they're planning. Would be
Mm-hmm.
nice, either online or offline modes, or single player or multiplayer. Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be. We need to get some reveals. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I really hope that I would be, if they did do another story, cinematic cutscene based like they did before, I wouldn't be disappointed. Um, but they already said that they're not doing another crypt, which is good and everything.
Yeah.
But
I think that'll be like molded
yeah.
into whatever conquests. Like, I would have to
Mm-hmm.
imagine we've been ramping up for a reason, like many have speculated, going from Mortal Kombat 9, where it was a little bit more expansive, to Mortal Kombat X, where you could like take a camera through it, to Mortal Kombat 11's, where you could actually walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is, it may not be the crypt anymore, but I think that's for a reason, because it's no
Mm-hmm.
longer going to be called the crypt, because it's going to be just like chests and stuff like we used to get in Conquest. So it'll be kind of like a one-stop shop for unlockables.
Yeah, and the big thing about this game too is it seems like the common theme is decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first initial reveal trailer, they talked about bitter rivalry and being friends and enemies and stuff. And I see both, like, with Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Katana Molina in their stories, and I can see a lot of strife happening between those particular sets of characters. And so I kind of have a feeling that we're going to get some sort of conquest mode where we're going to have to make some tough decisions, which is something I think is significantly lacking in the Mortal Kombat storytelling. Because a lot of times, like for instance, Temp, he doesn't even play the story, he just watches it on YouTube because he doesn't want to do the fights, because it pretty much is it's a cinematic movie essentially.
I do both typically. Like the last two games, I watched the whole story mode, just cutscene only, with Temp and Down 4.
Yeah.
I think maybe Django was there for MK11, but we did that also with Injustice 2. And I prefer that way, just because to me, then it's like a full on movie. You get to like grab some snacks and you just get to enjoy the cutscenes. And as much flack as like the stories get, I still had fun and enjoyed Mortal Kombat 11 story mode and Injustice 2's, because to me it's just like watching a movie for a couple hours with your friends and sitting there chilling and enjoying that. And then I'll usually go back through the story on my own just to unlock everything real quick. Like, I'll put it on easy and just like speed run through it basically, and skip the
skip.
Yeah. Because I don't like breaking up from I'm the type of person that when I go to a movie theater, like I like to get lost in the movie, like take away all distractions, put on horse blinders, earplugs, whatever I got to do to like zone out into this world and forget that I'm surrounded by people, basically. So with the game itself, like I like being able to just watch the cutscenes and see it seamless, versus
turn your phone off, and please audience members, chew with your mouth closed.
Sit there, watch for 5 minutes, and then nope, I gotta fight now. It's kind of like quick time events. That's kind of why those can be annoying, is because I just want to be able to,
I don't like quick time events,
like leave my brain just to fully vacation to this movie for 2 hours, not have to be interactive with it. So so I agree with the way he does it as well. So hopefully, honestly, with MK1, I hope to do the same.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest, because I like kind of like Deception. I like a game where Deception, no matter what you did, it was always the same answer in the end.
Sure.
Same thing with Armageddon. It was, the ending was always going to be the same. But with this game, I kind of hope that too. I do hope that the ending, this is MK1. I hope it ends on a cliffhanger. Of course, it's gonna happen. It's gonna end on a cliffhanger.
Cliffhangers are good. I just want a definitive end. If that makes sense. Like, I don't like the multiple choice endings, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Is that where you were going with that? Like, I want to know what the story. Yeah, I want to know what the story expectation is going into the next game.
Right, but I
don't want to have to wonder, was it ending A or B that we're going to be continuing on from? Like, we get enough of that with the arcade endings. Like, whether any of those end up true. Those can be fun to like.
I really hope they don't do arcade endings that aren't canon.
Like, yeah, I agree with you. I'd like more canon ones.
I would love.
It'd be nice to learn more. Use those as opportunities to learn more about what those characters actually did.
Yeah,
that would be cool. It gives each character kind of their own chance in the spotlight to learn more about what they were doing. Yeah, but yeah. On that note,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I would be all on board for like a conquest story mode where you get to do the RPG elements where you're running around interacting with everything, but also you get the cutscenes. That would be kind of cool too. Like, I'd be all on board for that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they're probably going to do some pretty expensive cutscenes like they've done in the past. But one thing, like for instance, this is just an example, is in a highly theorized, just example of what I'd like to see is, like, for instance, the end. It's going to have a definitive end, but in the end, it was one thing that happened was the brothers Sub-Zero and Scorpion broke off, and Scorpion went to create the Shirai Ryu, and Scorpion took the Lin Kuei because they had strife between each other, and Scorpion couldn't go along with Sub-Zero's decisions, even though he's his brother. And it ends with Scorpion making the Shirai Ryu and Sub-Zero taking the Lin Kuei in this direction. But it's like, you get to choose who you want to ally yourself with, something like that. So it's a definitive ending. It did happen, but you got to choose, and you got to ally yourself with or gain, like for instance in World Tour, Street Fighter 6's World Tour, you got to build a relationship with the characters. So it's like in what do they call it in World of Warcraft, renown or honor or something like that, or reputation. You build your rep up with somebody, with them. So that's something I kind of hope that you can choose to go with the Shaolin, the Lin Kuei, the Shirai Ryu, go to Katana. Do you want to build your reputation up with Melina or Katana? It's like, that's kind of things that I hope that you can do. So whether or not it's like a Shujinko or Taven kind of thing, or you create your own character, it's just, I want it to be interactable. I don't want it. I know that you guys like the cutscenes. I don't. I want it to be interactable.
Right.
Yeah. That's just
with Conquest. I completely agree. Like, if it was like a more of like an open world setting, I would not want to just watch that on YouTube. That would be more of like me interacting with the game. I'm just saying, like, from the way they've done their story chapters standpoint, where it's like you watch cutscenes and then you have to stop to fight with a character that you haven't even learned yet. You're just throwing out fly kicks all day, jumping kicks, and doing like the most basic 1-1-2 uppercut. Yeah, you're doing the most basic stuff and wasting time and all that stuff, like not even knowing what you're doing just to get on to the next cutscene. With that in mind, I'm more just like, I just want to watch the cutscenes and take out that stuff that I feel like takes me out of the moment. Conquest is the complete opposite. I would be all in favor of playing through a Conquest and interacting with everything and watching the cutscenes. So in like more of like a world tour example, absolutely Conquest, whatever, that I would actually play through, no doubt. Yeah. So yeah, that much I agree with for sure.
But I hope that in the Kombat Kast that it's going to be coming up, I really hope they can touch on story or game modes, like I said, game modes, netcode, and of course crossplay. That's probably the biggest thing, for me, because I'll consider getting a PS5. I'll consider it, but the thing is if I was to get a PS5, I would literally be getting it just to play Mortal Kombat.
Same. That's why, like, if crossplay is there and I have no more need for a PS5, I will probably just be like selling it to a friend or something. Make some of that money back, give somebody a friend a good deal or something, so they can get it for cheap and call it a day, and like just consider it money that I threw down just to be able to play like the stress test, the beta, get hands on with it, and so on and so forth, to make good use out of it for a while.
Sure.
But yeah.
But is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I'll just say kind of put a capper on everything. Like, with the game, kind of reiterate, like, I think the potential is high that this could be one of the best Mortal Kombats. I think
I agree.
roster-wise, aesthetic-wise, visuals, like the style and everything, I think easily we could be having the best of all of that has ever been. Like the visuals and roster, I think we could be easily looking at the best. Gameplay wise, I think we could be looking at one of the best. I just hope that if they make all the fine tune, like they listen to the feedback they've gotten, adjust whatever is needed, be it dash speed or the frame data and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If they truly tune that in and dial that in to where it feels really smooth and fat, like doesn't have to be MKX by any means. Like just make it feel responsive and very intuitive to where like when you're pressing buttons, you're getting immediate response and you know when you can press buttons. All the things that Temp is like really expressed well, and others like Max and have expressed the same types of thoughts. If they listen to that, when you add on the cameos and all that, I think that could be some of the best and most fun gameplay we've ever seen. In general, I think total package we're looking at, this could be kind of like a huge, like I said, a pillar in the series where this is the next like one that people throw out as like one of the best ones in the series. And I really hope that is the case, because it really bums me out when so much in the community really just do not like the game, and like they give up on it after a month or two and they're like, this just isn't fun. It's like we're going to be waiting another 4 years for another Mortal Kombat to come back around. Like I've said in the past, I think when I first came on, like I'm a Mortal Kombat fan more than I am a fighting game fan. And it's not that I don't like other fighting games. I like Soul Calibur, I like Injustice, of course, and so on and so forth. There's other ones out there that I've enjoyed. But to me, Mortal Kombat is like everything to me. So it's like, I want this to be successful for all parties involved. And I really want to have a Mortal Kombat that it's not going to make everybody happy, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's impossible.
But the people that were really disappointed by Mortal Kombat 11 deserve a win. And I feel like this game is a direct response to so much feedback. And that's why I'm so like over the moon about it right now thus far, based on what we know, is because I feel like everything has been a direct response of what our complaints were for Mortal Kombat 11. Outside of the speed so far, it could be faster if they address that. But everything else, I feel like the cameos are a much more interesting game. Like they make for a much more interesting game, and like decisions and just the character representation. I think the visuals are just like the more artistic direction is fantastic. I think the stages are wonderful. The roster has the potential to be great if Ed Boon follows through on like all the things he's been hyping up with like the 3D era character representation. If we see a lot of our favorites on there, like there's so much here that we've really wanted. I even like the total, like with story, I like the total fresh start, because like I just hope my one hope is that we just get away from the time travel stuff. Like let's start anew. Let's start with new origins, whatever. You can make these characters different, and that's fine with me. Just I hope they do it well, and I hope they write it well, and they no more retcons, disguised as intentional because there's a character messing with time, like that kind of stuff. I hope we leave in the past.
Consistency needs to be
This is a fresh start. Let's build it on a solid foundation, and I think the sky's the limit for this game, and I'm super excited by it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I just hope they listen to the feedback. If you adjust based on what people are saying, I think that's great feedback. I don't always agree with like what the FGC is saying or whatever he like nitpick this group or that group has said, but so far, like everything I've heard from like Max and Temp, and like I'm right there with you. Like it's not something I would have thought of, but now that it's been put out there beyond just like dash speed, I think like I understand since I've played the game and I had it, and I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of good points here, and I think they need to be addressed. And if they do, then there's nothing else holding this game back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with almost everything you said there. So, and it seems like this is a direct response to, like you said, it's a direct response to the people who were not thrilled with MK11 without taking away from what the general population of consumers are going to enjoy. Because, and it seems like it's heading in a great direction. Aesthetically, it's probably the most beautiful looking, not just fighting game, just game, dude. It's like, it's just a beautiful looking game. And so far the new mechanics seem good. It seems, even though, yeah, I agree, the dash speed and the walk speed needs to be increased a bit, and I have a very good feeling that they are just going to do that. And right. I'll be honest, I think they will. And one, I have said this before too, one thing I really liked that you said was that is to build on a solid foundation for a more consistent story to go forward, because right. The FGC consists of both the competitive gameplay and the story. Like Razor and Shad, I've never heard them talk, or at least extensively, on mechanics, but they love talking about story. So, there is that side of the Mortal Kombat fandom. But yeah, I hope in the Kombat Kast they're going to reveal a lot more than just character roster, even though character roster primarily is going to be the thing that
excites a lot of people.
It does.
In general,
they want to see their...
It's like Temp has said, like, more than anything, the only thing that's really going to move the needle for him from a 5 out of 10, really get him excited, is seeing his character done, like one of his characters that he's most looking forward to, like a Smoke or a Lee May, not only done but done well. And that's, now that he's played it and he has his own like reservations based on like the speed and like we've talked about like the frame stuff, but once he sees like Smoke or Lee May and it's like they're super cool looking, and that to me is, for a lot of us, like for you with Serena or any other characters you're looking for, a lot of people want Havoc, you mentioned Atara, I want Ashra. Like once we start,
I want Ashra too, man. It should be cool
if we see these types of characters and they're done super well, and like that's when I feel like a lot of people, at least in the community that we are a part of, like the more hardcore Mortal Kombat fans, I think that's when people are really going to start like shedding off that baggage that a lot of people seem to really hold on to with MKX, MK11 not having enough of those character representation or this or that or the other thing. Because in a lot of ways, this game feels like it's cherry picking a lot of the best aspects of Mortal Kombat 11.
It does.
Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 9. It's maybe not the percentages that we were thinking it would be or that we wanted it to be, but I do think it is a culmination of all three, and it's taking a lot of what worked in each of those games and like the more artistic direction. Like classic Mortal Kombat is being taken from Mortal Kombat 9, as well as some of the feel of the game. Mortal Kombat 11, of course, some of the visuals are shared there as well. The visual fidelity and details for Mortal Kombat 11, as well as just so far just some of the feel of it a little bit. But then you also kind of have like Fatal Blow is still a thing, even though it's been adjusted, stuff like that. For Mortal Kombat X, I mean, we still have brutalities. We're having more combos, and same with MK9. We're having just more combos and like longer combos and more creative combos. So it just feels like we're taking and variations is being molded into cameos. Like, so it feels like we're taking all the best parts of those, but we're shedding a lot of the things that people had issues with, for the most part, not completely, but like, so yeah, I'm really hoping that this game really satisfies the majority of us that have not felt like we've been getting what we've been wanting.
And the last thing was you said it pretty well, was the story, the consistency, no more of those retcons and stuff. And one thing I've said is that it's a great time for a brand new Mortal Kombat story to emerge, because not only is you going to have the writers now, but they're not always going to be the writers in the future. So setting a very strong foundation for your story is going to move forward for the storytellers or the Mortal Kombat story writers in the future. That is not going to be who they are now, so but yeah, thanks again, dude. This was fun, and I really appreciate you coming me on, and we'll talk very, very soon as more information comes out.
I mean, you got a lot of other people that you've had on. You got to make sure if like someone like Ashra or Cyrax or something like that gets revealed, then get me back on and we'll talk about it.
I know for sure that if Serena or Natara are revealed, I'm going to be everybody come on, let's talk about this. But if if Lee May gets revealed, I'd be like, all right, Temp, let's talk about it.
I would love to jump in there. We could do a 3-person for that one. It goes understated, but Lee May was one of my favorites for a long time too. She's not like numero uno or dos like she is for Temp, but for me, she was a standout. I've gone on record saying multiple times over the years, I like the 3D era females more than I like the trilogy era females. That's just it sounds weird, but like I felt like Frost, Ashra, Lee May, Natara, pretty much stops there, but like those characters to me, I enjoyed more than for the longest time anyways. Katana, Melina, Jade, Sindel, Shiva, like I like the 3D era ones more. And I still do. Katana's gone, all of them have really raised. Like even Melina and so on have gone higher up on my list as the years have gone on. But that's because they've gotten more opportunity to really, and more modern games where they flesh those characters out and give them more personality. But man, those 3D era ones, like I just love their designs as they were. So I want to see them get that same opportunity. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too, dude. So we'll talk very soon. All right.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night, bro.
You.
All right. Later.
You too. See ya.